So let's stop playing this game. Let's stop pretending that this whole thing is about life. Because if it was truly about protecting life, then these so-called pro-life lawmakers will be out here putting their money where their mouths are, right? They'd be passing legislations to protect children, support families, and make sure people actually live, not just get born and get left behind. But they're not. So let's look at what they're actually doing. Let's start with guns. Because if there's one thing the GOP will throw their body on the floor to protect, it's not kids, it's gun manufacturers. After the tragedy in Uvalde, Texas in 2022, where 19 elementary school kids, and 2 teachers were murdered, what did the GOP controlled Texas government do? Did they tighten up gun laws? No. They did the exact opposite. They expanded access to guns, refused to raise the age to buy an AR-15, refused to implement universal background checks, refused red flag laws. But you know what they did pass? A bill to arm more teachers, because clearly kindergarten teachers should be packing heat. So Greg Abbott, the same man who banned abortion with zero exception, even in rape cases, stood in front of microphones and said the real problem was mental health. Okay, great. So what did he do? He slashed over $200 million from the state's mental health budget. Texas now ranks dead last in access to mental health care. That's not pro-life. That's pro-headline. That says something nice for the cameras, then do the exact opposite behind closed doors. Now let's talk healthcare. You know, the thing that keeps people alive. The GOP has spent over a decade trying to kill the Affordable Care Act. They try to repeal, defund, and undermine. You know, you name it. Why? Because it's quote-unquote socialism. So never mind that over 10 million children rely on Medicaid or CHIP, programs the GOP repeatedly targets when they push entitlement cuts. And who gets hurt? Kids, elderly folks, people with disabilities, pregnant women, the exact people they pretend to fight for. Oh, but they'll turn around and say, we're just fighting for fiscal responsibility. Oh, really? Because when it's time to give billionaires a tax break or throw another $800 billion at the Pentagon, suddenly the checkbook is wide open. Now let's take a field trip to Mississippi again. One of the first states to ban abortion outright after Roe v. Wade fell. Zero exceptions, no mercy, total ban. But let's ask, what kind of life are these people being born into? Mississippi has the highest infant mortality rate in the country and one of the worst maternal mortality rates, especially for black women. Bottom 5 in education rankings and refused Medicaid expansion, leaving hundreds of thousands uninsured. Dozens of rural hospitals on the brink of closure. So what exactly are you forcing people to give birth into? A system that won't feed them, won't educate them, won't heal them, but will punish them for being poor. So, someone make it make sense. And then there's food assistance. During the global pandemic, when families were lining up at food banks, when school lunch was the only meal for some of these kids, the GOP fought to add more restrictions to SNAP. They wanted more work requirements, less access, and more red tape. They literally argued that if you don't work enough hours, your kids should not eat. Meanwhile, they were passing tax cuts for corporations that laid off half their workers and CEOs with private jets. You tell me, how's that pro-life? You'll starve kids before you raise taxes on the wealthy. You'll criminalize single moms before you ask billionaires to chip in. You'll ban abortion, then ghost the child you claim you're protecting. And let's not forget, obviously, public schools. They'll ban books. They'll scream about quote-unquote woke curriculums. But will they fund teacher salaries? Will they fix the crumbling school buildings? Will they invest in mental health counselors for free lunch? Hell no. Instead, they'll push for school vouchers, funneling public money into private religious school while gutting the system that educates everyone else. That's not pro-life, that's privatization, that's control. And let's do one more. When the baby formula shortage hit in 2022, what did the GOP lawmakers do? They voted against emergency funding to deal with it. They voted against making sure babies had food. And you can't make this up. This is not about values. It's about life. It's about control. It's about keeping power in the hands of the few by convincing just enough people that banning abortion makes them righteous, even as every other part of their policy hurts real people. This isn't a movement to protect life. It's a movement to punish women, to enforce suffering, to cling to power no matter the cost. They're not pro-life, they're pro-birth, they're pro-gun, they're pro-rich, and they're pro-control. But life requires work. It requires compassion. It requires policy, not just platitudes. And they don't have the spine for any of that.